Hey, Megan.
Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
great. How are you?
Doing great. I am so far
Good.
you're here with us.
Well,
Uh,
thank you. Thank you so much.
Gang, I'm excited to share Megan with you. She's on Mike Leventovich's base shop, and I want to show you um, as an introduction. Um, a year ago, if you can see here, Megan, August 2018, her total production, August 2018, she was number 36 in the hierarchy, and she did 6,766.69 with 12 applications. Okay, so fast forward a year, and she's number 2 in our hierarchy with $31,411.57 with 77 apps. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
pretty
cool.
wild, huh?
What a year. So tell us, how did Mike and Noel find you?
I was a lead actually. So I had bought a house, and I had a lead, a mortgage protection lead, and I wanted to make sure, my son would be taken care of. So, I had a woman come out and she helped me out and put me on Foresters, and I said I was interested and she offered me a job and I got started
When was
and here
this?
I am. So this was a little over a year ago. So I started in November of 18.
Okay.
Yeah, no, November of 17 is when I started.
Okay,
That's
November
right.
17. Okay. And what were you doing
Yeah,
at the time?
I was a waitress and a bartender, actually, for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I started doing this and working. I actually was known as the Applebee's girl. So,
The
so I
Applebee's.
was doing both. I was doing this part-time, and then I saw how much money I could be making, and so I started slowly backing away from Applebee's, and then I said, I'm done. I'm done. So I love helping families. I love what we do. It's changed my life for sure.
When did you go
So
full
it's changed
time?
my boys. Um, I did it I just went full time in, I would say February. February? Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just this
Around
year.
February. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. So,
And what motivated you
yep.
to want to get into this?
Being with my son more. So, my goal was I'm a single mom and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And everybody's like, oh, that's not possible. You can't do that. And I made it possible. So here I am. I'm a single mom, and I consider myself a stay-at-home mom because I work when I don't have my son. So,
And how old is
and you
he?
can probably hear him in the background.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And how old is he?
He's 4. He's 4.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
So,
so you totally work around when you have him.
right.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so
So
cool.
so when he goes to his dad's and when he's in preschool, that's when I work.
Wow.
So,
So
yeah, yeah. So
you did like
I work every other
31,000.
weekend. Yeah, so I do every other weekend, and I do every Wednesday for 4 hours, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday while he's in preschool for 2.5 hours. Then I'm out running appointments. I dedicate all my extra time to this. So
Wow.
I got big goals. I got big goals. So
That's great. So you have typically a high app count. Are you like
uh-huh.
doing a lot of final expense leads, or you just have tremendous app
I
count?
Thank you. Yes, so I basically do all final expense. I do some mortgage protection, but I keep going. Like, I do reviews a lot. And so, like, if I sell, like, final expense, let me hold it, baby. And I follow up with them and I go back and I help the family out. And I always make sure, if I help them out with whole life, I'll help them out with the accidental. I'll do, their children's policies.
Yeah.
As many as I can do in a home is what I do. So, normally, I think just last weekend, I helped out a family, and I believe I sold about six policies in that one home.
Wow.
So, I focus on, whole life, accidental, children's policies for their grandkids. I've been doing a lot of cancer policies with Mutual Omaha, heart attack and stroke. So this one woman, I helped her out with whole life, accidental, a policy for her grandchild, a cancer policy, and a heart attack and stroke policy.
Oh, that's good stuff. Wow. Now, take us back to when you got started. Was it difficult for you getting started, or what did you focus on to kind of get your schedule in place when you were doing this part-time?
I worked quite a bit at Applebee's. Like, for me, I actually started selling to my clients from Applebee's. So, like, my regulars,
Yeah.
I was really close to them. So I was able to go to their homes, help them out. Of course, I wrote a policy on myself. I wrote a policy on my family. I wrote a policy for my son. Like, my son has a Forester Smart UL.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I focused on that. And then I finally, Mike and Noel were very patient with me. So I started getting into the leads. And I love it. I got a GMR set up now. So I'm getting five A leads a week. So, and then
5 A leads a week.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. That's it. Yep.
And you did
that's it.
31,000. Are you getting referrals?
I'm getting referrals, and I always, when I help a family out and I sell a policy, I always go back to review the policy with them. And there's normally, just by talking to them, there's always something else that they're needing. Like, if I didn't help them out with a cancer policy, just talking to people, you can kind of get an idea. They pretty much tell you what they need. If I'm in a home, I'm helping out a family, and so they start talking about, their dad that had cancer, or their mom that had cancer, or their grandma that had cancer. Well, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be interested in a cancer policy because it's happened to them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's like just going back and visiting the family and listening to them. They pretty much tell you what they need just by talking and listening to them. And so.
Wow. So you're sitting primarily with final expense leads. They tend to be older people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have the flexibility of doing a lot of daytime appointments with the seniors.
Mhm. And that's what I love about final expense leads, because a lot of them are retired and they're mostly always home. You know what I mean? A lot of them are always home. So, I keep really good in touch with them. You get them to like you, and when you get them to like you and you go back for a review, they're more open because they trust you, and they're going to trust you with their family. So I always go back. I never go to one place one time. I just keep going back.
Okay, so when you do a review, is it like a month later? Like after they receive their policy, you go back and kind of open it up with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, no, I usually don't wait. I mean, like sometimes I'll wait that long, but typically like my next run out. So that would be like, 2 weeks later, like I'll
Yeah.
set up a follow-up appointment with them.
Oh, wow. And so
Yeah.
and what is the purpose of your follow-up? Just say, hey, how you doing? Just wanted to come
Yeah.
back.
I just want to make sure, like, I'll call them and be like, did you guys get your policy in the mail? They'll be like, yeah, we did. And I'll be like, awesome. I want to go over that with you. Make sure, we got everything covered and explain things a little bit to you. And if you have any questions, will you guys be home at this time? And then I go there, go over stuff with them, just sit and have conversation with them. If they're younger, I usually do like, if I'm able to do like a smart universal life, I mean, like, I always want to help them out as much as I possibly can. So, I mean, if they have, one and, they're probably looking for an accidental because they like you, they trust you, they're willing to do more if they like you and trust you. And so I think that's the major thing. Just getting them to like you and trust you. And, I have people that invite me and my son out to cookouts and stuff like that. It's pretty awesome. People always ask me to bring my boy with me. And it's awesome.
I love it. I love it. So,
Thank you.
so you're doing 5 A leads a week. You're going back multiple times to sit down with the client. And you are really good at obviously establishing a relationship with them. So when you go out on your appointment, how much of that time is just getting to know them? Is it like a majority of the time is just getting to know the client and figuring them out?
Yeah. And typically when I go in to a home, like I don't get anything out. Like I don't get, the ATM out or anything like that, like right at first. Like I usually sit there and talk to them for a good like 15 minutes before I pull like any of my stuff out because, you try to get them to like you, and before I even get into anything. And I mean, there's so many things that you can learn just by, I ask them about their family. I ask them about, all that stuff, just like having a conversation, because when you're having a conversation, they will tell you, they're really close with their kids. And that's when I say, like, I'll put the lead out there in front of them and I'll be like, well, you've told me that you're really close to your daughter. So I'm guessing this is why you filled this lead out, to make sure your daughter is taken care of if something were to happen to you. And they're like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And I already knew that because I sat there and had a conversation with them. You know what I mean? So, and then I just follow through and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do to make sure she's taken care of. And then, I mean, like just having a conversation with the people, they give you all the answers. So
they do. How long do you think you're in the home with someone?
Typically, I always schedule my appointments for like 2 hours.
Okay.
Like I'll set an appointment at noon. I'll set up another appointment at 2 because I plan on being in the home like, an hour and a half. And then if it's a little bit longer, I still have enough time before I have to get to my next appointment. If it takes me 20 minutes, if it takes me 15 minutes, and I work that pretty well. And then if I have extra time, I go to my next appointment early. So I usually schedule about, like, my goal is around 7 to 8 appointments a day when I'm out every other weekend. So
7, 8 a day. See, you run a bulk of your appointments on the weekend?
Do what? Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
You shoot for the weekend where your husband or your ex-husband has your son? Like when you don't have your son?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he gets my son every other weekend. And so every other weekend I go out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I run appointments from like 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. every other Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so I do as much as I possibly can in that amount of time so I can be home with my son
So you're
right when I pick him up.
okay. So Friday through Sunday, about how many appointments is your goal per that time?
So that'd be 24.
24.
20 to 24. My goal, and I've just recently upped my goal when I'm out for the 3 days because
Yeah.
it's never enough for me. Like,
Yeah.
so, my goal now is every other weekend, 20 policies in 3 days.
20 policies in 3 days. Wow.
So yeah, and that's every other weekend. And then I factor in my policies that I've sold throughout the week while he was in preschool. And on Wednesdays, I usually set like 4 appointments on Wednesdays because that's when he goes for like his midweek to his dad's. And he does his midweek for 5 hours. So 5 hours on Wednesday, I'll try to get 4 appointments in, 3 to 4 appointments in. So today, my son was in preschool for 2.5 hours. So I had an appointment this morning and wrote a Transamerica policy. And it was a review that I had like a year ago. Great guy. You know, I mean, he was excited to see me because they already like you. So they're going to let you come over because they like you, you know, and, you know, people change. I mean, like, maybe what he needed a year ago, maybe he needs more now, you know? I mean, maybe something happened. Maybe there's cancer in the family, you know? So he's thinking about that, you know? Maybe their parent, you know, passed of a heart attack. So maybe he's looking for like a heart attack and stroke policy through Mutual of Omaha. People's lives change all the time. And that's what I figured out as I've been doing this is you always need to go back because I'll tell you this real fast, but I had a guy that I had helped out a year ago, and I wasn't doing cancer policies at that time. And I was doing my review, and his wife was like in tears, and she told me that her husband was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I could have kicked myself in the face because if I was there, you know, a month prior to that, I could have helped him out with a cancer policy. And I wasn't because I had just learned about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you always need to go back because people's lives change so much.
Wow.
And luckily, I was able to help her out with the cancer policy because she saw what her husband was going through. So, I mean, there's always opportunity. So I never go to one place one time. You know, I make relationships with everybody.
That's awesome. So tell me, getting started, what was the hardest thing for you to overcome getting started when you were brand new?
The hardest thing, I think, was probably just getting my schedule together, like with Applebee's and how I was going to do this and, you know, being a mom and, you know, doing all that. And, but I mean, if you want something bad enough, you find a way to do it.
You do,
You find a way. You sure do. You sure do. Because, you know, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have never thought I'd be in the situation I am now. I mean, I don't have to worry about, you know, making $200 at Applebee's. So, like, I can make $200, and I can make more than $200 sitting in the home for an hour and a half. You know, I don't have to worry about my bills being paid. I don't have to worry about, you know, what I'm going to do or, you know, what if I get sick and can't go to work? Like, I don't have to worry about that. I mean, my son, he gets to go. I mean, we've been to Florida twice this summer. I mean, he gets to go on several vacations. And I mean, we're having a great time and it's really, you know, answered a lot of our prayers. So
That rocks. So did you ever have fear of the phone, like getting on the phone and booking appointments? Was that not a big deal for you because I don't know, you wanted this bad enough, it didn't matter? Or
I think, I was already, when I was a waitress and a bartender, like, I already knew people. I knew how to talk to people. I was, turned down by people. I already knew the way people worked, so nothing was really a surprise to me. I could pretty much talk to anybody, being in the restaurant business for 13 years. So I wasn't scared of people.
yeah.
Because you see a lot of people in the restaurant business. I mean, you get yelled at, you know what I mean? You just never know what you're going to get with the public. I'd still say to this day, like, doing dials and stuff is not my favorite. I would say that's the one thing that it's not my favorite to do. I would rather just have the appointments there, but it doesn't happen like that. You've got to do dials, you've got to book appointments, and you got to go. Some people just think that everything just falls in your lap and you don't work for it, and that's not the way it works. If you want something, you got to make it happen. And if I can do it, then anybody can do it. And
so
people say, like, go ahead.
How far?
People just
go ahead.
Go ahead.
People say, go ahead.
People always come up with excuses like, I just don't have time, or I just can't do this. You got to train your brain to start thinking positively and stop thinking negatively all the time. You can do it. And if you want it, if you got a reason and you want it, then you got to go make it happen.
How important is the system to you to keep your mind right? Like attending the conference calls, TWC, Mike and Noel's calls. How important is that to you to keep your mind right?
It is. It's really important. The thing that's helped me out a lot with Mike and Noel, they kind of put me under their wing, and I love them. They're like my mom and dad, my second mom and dad. I really truly love them, and if they tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it, because the relationship you have with your upline is just, ours is super strong. So, they send me in the right direction, and you always want to listen to people above you and do what they tell you to do, and listen when they tell you what works and what doesn't, because they're the ones that you want to follow in their footsteps. They're the ones making millions, you should listen to those people. That's just what I always tell myself. And then, if I don't do something, it pops in my head that I don't want to disappoint them. Like, I love them. I don't want to disappoint Mike and Noel. You know what I mean? So I think that is that's what pops in my head the most. So, like, if they tell me to do something, I do it. Because
that total trust, because they have your best interests in mind, right?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And, they're really supportive. Me being a mom, I go to the hot spots, and guess what? I bring my boy with me. You make it work, because I have heard so many parents, be like, well, I can't go because I have my kids. Well, then bring them with you. It's at, ours is at Denny's. Your kids need to eat, right? That's what my son does. He goes and he eats dinner, no, I don't always get to stay for the whole thing, but at least I go,
And it's not close to you. Like, going there how far is that from you?
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And with all the stop-go traffic, it can be ridiculous.
Yeah, because you're in the Indianapolis area, right?
Yeah.
How far do you travel to your leads?
Those typically I do Montgomery County and I do Tippecanoe County. And so Tippecanoe County is about, 30, 45 minutes away. And then Montgomery County is where I live. So those are pretty close. Those are like 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. So I do two counties.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. But only 5 A leads a week.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm very
And
impressed.
sometimes I get on Facebook and I'm like, hey, I know that girl, and she's got 5 kids. So I mean, you just gotta think. I mean, like, I'm always thinking, like, this girl's got 5 kids, so she probably wants to make sure they're taken care of. And if something happens to her, the member benefits with Foresters is amazing. Whoever's helping her kids out, they're gonna get paid $900 per child every month. Until they're the age of an adult. Like, that opens people's eyes.
Yeah, that's pretty
I
cool.
mean, like, yeah,
So
I mean, that's what I always say with Foresters.
what are your favorite companies to write?
Definitely Foresters Financial. I write a lot of Trains America. I write a lot of Foresters Plan Right. Trains America, I seem to write a lot of those just because final expense, a lot of people have COPD,
Yeah.
A lot of people are on the Social Security, so they really like Trains America because they have the Social Security benefit options. But Foresters, I would definitely say I love Foresters.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. But I hope I helped you out, and I got to take my boy into the doctors now. So I hope I definitely helped some people, like, realize.
Oh, that's awesome,
You
Megan.
said no, not the doctor.
No. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you putting me on this call.
All right. Thank you, Megan. Good stuff.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow. So, man, I hope you all took notes. It's stuff we teach all the time regarding creating a relationship. Brant Swindell is just like her. She's just like Brant Swindell. Their whole part of the conversation with the client is not to close them on a sale, it's getting to know them. I mean, I'm going to be up there at Columbus, and man, I can't wait to hear him talk about that, because that's what he does. And we've done conference calls with some other people that actually ran with Brant. They say the same thing. Megan is just a carbon copy of going in there and serving people and taking care of them and getting to know them. I mean, with all the production she does, you would think like 5 A-leads a week is all. Well then, so my question is, for some of y'all that are, on 10 to 15 A-leads a week, what are you not doing? Are you not creating a relationship with the client? And she's in like the sticks of Indiana, and I guess you can all say, well, it doesn't work right like out here because people are mean. It's like, well, you know what? People reflect you, don't they? People reflect your attitude and mindset. And she goes in there and she just, laid back. And I know she doesn't close 100%, but she closes what she's supposed to close. She closes the people that care, about their families, and she brings all that out. I mean, wow. Let's see. How much is she making now? Well, if you do like 31,000, say the 31,000 issue paid. I'm pretty accurate on this stuff. Her goals are even higher. So let's see. She's probably clearing 16 grand a month, 16,000 a month. So what's 16,000? 16,000 times 12. So she's like almost on a 200,000. Well, and that doesn't account annuities. So she's probably doing annuities. So she's probably 200 grand. So she went from being a bartender and server at Applebee's, and she started in November 2017. And then you saw what I showed you what she did a year ago. She did about 7,000 August of 2018. Last month she did 31,000. So she's on a run rate of about 200 grand a year. So how many of y'all could use an extra 200,000 a year part-time, because she's spending full-time with her son? Is that cool? So this is truly part-time. Someone asked me when I was recruiting, well, how much can a part-timer make? Well, how about 200,000 a year? Well, you know, she works every other weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, and she does a few appointments during the week. Is that really part-time? I don't know, dude. Does she work 40 hours? Anyway, look, God's no respecter of person, right? Like, I don't care what background you have. I don't care what challenges you have. I mean, talk about her challenge, man. But she doesn't really give her challenges life. Trust me, she has way more than she, but it's to her, it's like, eh. Do you hear what she said? If you want something bad enough, dialing the phone, she doesn't like it, but she has to do it. And she knew what she was going to get because she knows people. She's been in the people business for 13 years in the restaurant industry. And there you got some bad people out there, you know, that, you know, this meat's overdone. And then they stiff her. They give her 0 tip. And it wasn't her fault. It's the chef's fault. And she tried to make it right. And they stiff her. Oh, whatever, man. That's just what happens. But now she's in a different place. Can you imagine how quick you can change your life in a span of 2 years? Like, do you know, wherever you are right now, like 2 years from now, you could be making $16,000 a month. And will that change your situation? Now, she had to get there from when she got started, right? She had to get there, but she hung in there long enough to get there. And there's so many other questions to ask someone like that. You know, like the conferences. Did she go to all the conferences? Yeah, the answer is yes. She went to all the conferences. Is she going to miss national conference this January? Absolutely not. She's not going to miss it. She's going to be recognized for an income ring, you know? See, life will find a way. It's Jurassic Park. You guys remember Jurassic Park? Life will find a way. Life will find a way to perpetuate.